What it do, YouTube? MJM for life here. Back again, finally bringing you another video. This time, I'm starting a new series called Can This Archetype Compete? Or CTAC for short. And the first installment of the pilot episode of Can This Archetype Compete is going to be featuring the Gimmick Puppet Archetype. So, so for this series, I'm going to be selecting an archetype that's underused, so something that maybe hasn't topped, and then seeing if this archetype has the ability or the tools to actually compete in the metagame. The current metagame. So we're going to start off by looking at some of the cards. We've got Gimmick Puppet Destroy. This card isn't so good. It just makes you go minus. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon 2 Gimmick Puppet monsters from your hand, and you can also destroy 1 Gimmick Puppet monster you control. So you can destroy itself, but I mean that's a -3, so that card's not really good. This card, Gimmick Puppet Dreary Doll, is actually really good. When it's sent to the graveyard, if it's in your graveyard, you can banish a Gimmick Puppet monster and special summon this card from your graveyard. So a lot of Gimmick Puppet decks revolve around this card. Although it does have sometimes a hindering downside is that you can only use this card to special summon Gimmick Puppet monsters, and sometimes that can really come back to bite you. Another card, Gimmick Puppet Egghead, has 2 effects. You can discard 1 card and activate one of these effects. Do a cowboy 800 damage burn. Or you can make this card's level 8. This card actually is not that bad. I don't see a lot of people running this, and lo and behold, I'm actually not running this. But I do think this card definitely has some potential, especially if you're running the other higher level monsters. You can just get them out of your hand, like especially with the Dreary Doll. You just pitch that and then use its effect, and then bam, you got a rank 8 right there. Another good card is this Gimmick Puppet Gear Changer. Basically, this card you can target 1 monster and this Gimmick Puppet monster, and this card's level becomes the same as that level. So it opens up rank 4 plays, it opens up rank 8 plays, and it's really good. Another new card, Gimmick Puppet Humpty Dumpty. When this card is normal or special summon, you can special summon 1 Gimmick Puppet monster from your hand. So another good card that mainly facilitates rank 4 plays as well. Another good Gimmick Puppet card that you'll probably want to play at least one of, the Gimmick Puppet Magnet Doll. And this card, if your opponent controls a monster and all the monsters you control are Gimmick Puppets, minimum of 1, you can special summon this card from your hand. So if you open up, Gear Changer plus multiple Magnet Dolls, you can just drop 2 of them on the field if your opponent has a monster, and then go for a rank 8. And unlike Dreary Doll, this monster does not have a restriction, so you can go for any rank 8 you want. Another card, Gimmick Puppet Nightmare. This card isn't really good, but you can target 1 face-up XCs you control, special summon. Oh wait, what is it? You can tribute 1 XCs you control and special summon this card. I think it's from the graveyard, and it says you can special summon 1 Gimmick Puppet Nightmare from your hand or graveyard. This card is special summoned. What does it say? You cannot special summon any monsters for the rest of the turn except Gimmick Puppet monsters. So this card is just a shittier version of Gimmick Puppet Dreary Doll, so probably not going to be playing that. Another good Gimmick Puppet card, Gimmick Puppet Scissor Arms. When this card is normal summoned, it's basically a Gimmick Puppet Armageddon Knight, except it doesn't get its effect when it's special summoned, unfortunately. But when this card is normal summoned, you can send 1 Gimmick Puppet monster from your deck to the graveyard. This card works extremely well in tandem with the Dreary Doll, because especially if you're going first, normal summon this, send the Dreary Doll, then hope your opponent will most likely be able to get over a 1200 attacking monster. Then they get over that, and then you have Banish Fodder for Dreary Doll on your next turn to be able to go for a rank 8. So that's really good. Another new Gimmick Puppet that was recently released is this Shadow Feeler card. Cannot be destroyed by battle. When you take battle damage from your opponent's direct attack while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your graveyard in face-up attack position, and if you do, take 1000 damage, and you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. And if this card is used as an Xyz material, if it would be sent to the graveyard, it is banished instead, so you can't continuously use the Shadow Feeler. Now, the Shadow Feeler is also a decent card, and you definitely could build a Gimmick Puppet deck with the Shadow Feeler if you would like. Especially because a lot of Gimmick Puppets are either level 4 or level 8. So, yeah, this card though. Another thing to note about this card is that it's anime. In the anime version of this effect, you actually don't take damage. You don't take that extra 1,000 damage. So the problem with this card is you have to take a direct attack, then you have to take another 1,000 damage on top of that. So that's kind of what the potential drawback of this card. And it's crazy that the anime effect is actually, the anime effects are usually always better than the actual effects. I don't know why they added that you take another additional 1,000 damage. That's kind of strange. But the last Gimmick Puppet effect monster is Gimmick Puppet Twilight Joker. And when a Gimmick Puppet monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to your graveyard, you can banish that monster and special summon this card from your hand. And you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. This card, it's okay. You don't typically see it. It doesn't really typically see much play among the Gimmick Puppet community, if you if you will. But it does work in tandem with the Scissor Arms. You go Scissor Arms, send a Drury Doll, and then, when Scissor Arms gets destroyed, you can special summon this from your hand. And then, if you have a Magnet Doll in your hand, you can special summon that, go for a rank 8. So it does have some utility, but it's just not that useful. Now for the Gimmick Puppet Exceeds monsters, number 15, Giant Grinder. This card is amazing against Exceeds based decks. Up to twice per turn during your main phase 1, you can detach one card. You can detach one Exceeds material from this card. Target one special summon monster your opponent controls, and then if it was an Exceeds monster, inflict damage equal to that monster's attack. Its restriction of only during main phase 1 is kind of annoying sometimes, but it does activate twice, so that's really good. This card here, Gimmick Puppet of Strings, it's a 3K beater. Its effect isn't that good. You can detach one Exceeds material from this card, place string counters on all face-up monsters on the field except for this card, and during your opponent's next end phase, all monsters with string counters are destroyed, and then your opponent, I believe, it takes 500 damage, and this includes for your own monster. So if you put string counters on your own monster and destroy them, your opponent will take the damage and not you. This card is only good in tandem with its Chaos Exceed version of itself, and we'll get into that shortly. Number 88, Gimmick Puppet of Leo. This card is a win condition card. What is it? Once per turn, if you have no Spell or Trap cards in your Spell or Trap card zone, you can detach one XYZ material from this card and place a Destiny counter on it. And if you detach all 3 materials and place Destiny counters on it, you win. The problem is you can't have any spells in your Spell or Trap card zone, so that's kind of bad. Now into the Chaos Exceeds, number C15. Gimmick Puppet Giant Hunter. This card, you can detach one XYZ material, destroy any one card on the field, so that includes spell or traps, and if it was a monster, inflict damage equal to that monster's attack. So this is a pretty good card. Then the Chaos version of Gimmick Puppet of Strings, Gimmick Puppet of Dark Strings, and this card, when it's special summoned, destroy all monsters with string counters and draw a card, and then inflict damage equal to your opponent equal to the highest original attack of the monsters destroyed. So if you destroy your own monster that has 3K attack, your opponent will take that damage. So that's where the Gimmick Puppet of Strings effect actually is useful in combination with number C10. Is it? It's hard to see. C40. My bad. Then the last Chaos Exceed, number C88, Gimmick Puppet Disaster Leo. Now this card is extremely good, but it's also extremely hard to get out. But we'll get into its effect. It can only be summoned with a rank up magic spell card in targeting Gimmick Puppet of Leo. And it cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card cannot be targeted by card effects. Amazing effect in today's metagame. And once per turn, you can detach one XYZ material, inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. And if your opponent, during your end phase, if your opponent's life points are 2,000 or less, and this card has no Exceeds material, you win the duel. So that's an interesting win condition. This could work well in like a Gimmick Puppet burn deck, maybe. But that's kind of gimmicky, and that's not really competitive, so to speak. So we're only going to focus on competitive-based Gimmick Puppet deck. So I do have a deck here, as you can see, and some other cards that, I'll just explain the cards in the deck and explain how they work well with Gimmick Puppets. So this first card, Gear Spring Spirit, 3 of those. We've got 3 Drury Doll, 3 Gear Changer, 3 Humpty Dumpty, 2 Magnet Doll, 3 Scissor Arms, 3 Forbidden Lance, 3 Junk Puppet, which is a Gimmick Puppet spell card, 3 Machine Duplication, 3 Rank Up Magic Argent Chaos Force, triple trade-in, 2 Black Horn of Heaven, 1 Bottomless, 2 Call of the Haunted, 2 Phoenix Chain, and 1 Solemn Warning. So, Gear Spring Spirit, if you can special summon this card from your hand by having only machine-type monsters in your graveyard. And once per turn, you can target one face-up monster, and that monster's attack becomes 0. So this is an easy, just level 8 that you can just special summon by having machine-type monsters in your graveyard exclusively, and all Gimmick Puppets are machine-type, so that works extremely well with your Gimmick Puppet Archetype. Also, the fact that they revolve around rank 8s, it's almost like this card was made for Gimmick Puppets, although this came out way before Gimmick Puppets were even thought of. But anyway, this card just works extremely well with Gimmick Puppets. Then the Druid Doll, I already explained it. You run 3. Normally, you don't really need to run 3. Like 2, I think, is probably better. But because we're running this machine duplication, because it's a machine duplication target, that's why we're running 3. Although 3 can get a bit cloggy at times, I must admit. But it does pay off when you can, machine duplication for the other 2 from your deck. It just works extremely well. Gear Changer, again, Gimmick Puppet monsters are self-explanatory. But this card allows you to go for rank 8s and rank 4s. It's also another machine duplication target, as well as Humpty Dumpty. It's also a machine duplication target, and you can go for rank 4. Humpty Dumpty, special summon a Gear Changer. Humpty Dumpty, special summon a Magnet Doll, and then activate Druid Doll's effect from the graveyard, and then overlay for rank 8 that way. So Humpty Dumpty does have some unique utility with this deck. 2 Magnet Doll, and then the Gimmick Puppet Scissor Arms to basically, you want to go for this most of the time. Sometimes you want to go for maybe like a Gear Changer if you have a Junk Puppet in your hand, but for the most of the time you're going to go for Druid Doll. Triple Forbidden Lance, because this deck really doesn't like back row, and I think that Forbidden Lance helps more in getting your monsters out than Space Typhoon does. Although against certain decks, like against Skill Drain, for example, I played a Malefic Skill Drain deck. Once they flipped up Skill Drain, I mean, it was over because I don't play Space Typhoon. So definitely thinking about siding Space Typhoon in this deck. Junk Puppet, basically a Gimmick Puppet Monster Reborn. You must have, 3 is almost a must. It just, again, helps facilitate those rank 8 plays. Machine Duplication is really, really good. You've got 3 targets for it, and it just makes for crazier plays. And then you've got Rank Up Magic, Argent Chaos Force. This deck, basically the heart of this deck, the deck really revolves around this card for 2 reasons. One, because this is probably the best Rank Up Magic card, because it has the effect of 1, you can target 1 rank 5 or higher monster. You can Exceed monster and special summon 1 number C or CXYZ, that's 1 rank higher. So basically what it comes down to is you rank up your rank 8s to any rank 9 Chaos Exceed, and that's good. That's extremely good. And then its other effect, that if this card's in your graveyard and then you special summon, keyword is special summon, a rank 5 or higher Exceeds monster, you can add this card from your graveyard to your hand, allowing you basically to rank it up immediately. But you can only use this effect once per duel, unfortunately. I think it would get too broken if it didn't have that restriction. But basically why special summoning is important is because you run Call of the Haunted, and what you can do is if you successfully Exceed summon a monster, you can bring it back with Call of the Haunted, and then add this card back from your graveyard into your hand, and then immediately rank that up. And this is a great way to bait out any potential back row that your opponent might have before you go for your actual play. So that's why the special summoning is keyword there, because you don't have to Exceed summon that monster in order to add this back from your graveyard to your hand. Trade-in just works extremely well with triple Jury Doll. You definitely do not want this card in your hand. And you're going to open up with this card a lot because there is 3. So that is the problem with running 3. So going to trade in, really, really good. Sometimes Gear Spring Spirit can be dead because you do have some non-machine Exceed monsters. So if those monsters get destroyed, now all your Gear Spring Spirits are going to be dead. So that's what trade-in works really well with those as well. And then the traps are self-explanatory, I think. So let's go to the actual deck. We've got 2 CXYZ Coach Lord Ultimate Trainer. This card is amazing. It can't be targeted by card effect, and once returned, if this has an Exceeds monster attached as Exceeds material to it, you can attach 1 material and draw 1 card, reveal it, and if it's a monster, inflict 800 damage to your opponent. So you get to draw a card, and if it's a monster, you get to do damage to your opponent. This card is really good. It also cannot be targeted by card effects, which is really good in today's metagame. Now, the one drawback again of its effect is it cannot be targeted by card effects, period. So that means even your own card effects, like Forbidden Lance, like if they want a Bottomless, you can't chain Forbidden Lance and target your monster to protect it because it can't be targeted. So that sometimes does come to bite you. That has happened to me where I want to lance it, because they bottomless it, and I can't because it can't be targeted. So that is unfortunate, but overall, this card is just really good, and it's a 3800 attacker that can't be targeted. We have 2 Felgren, the Divine Dragon Knight. This card, again, my favorite Exceeds monster, and we all know what Felgren does. We've got some rank 4s, Excites a Knight, Laval Chain, really good to pitch your rank up magic to the graveyard and then add it back to your hand when you exceed. So that's why Laval's in here. Number 101 because it's 101. Giant Killer, we've got one of those. We've got one Franken, Zombie Stun. Franken is its Japanese name. I rarely ever make this card, so I might take it out and put in Gaga Cowboy, just because there are a lot of times where your opponents have those little bitty life points that 800 or less, and you just cowboy them. But since I'm not playing it, it does get frustrating. So I might take this out, either this or maybe Felgren, just because I've not yet to come into a situation where I've had to make 2 Felgren. Then we've got 2 Gimmick Puppet of Strings. It's a 3K beater, and also for rank up magic. If we don't have rank up magic, we can just use this as a 3K beater. 1 Neo Tachyon, Neo Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. This card, 4500 beater, as well as it can negate all of the effects of face-up monsters and freeze any potential mirror forces or D-prisons that they might have. So this card is really, really good. I usually only go for this if I have a game. This really helps you just win games. Then 1 Giant Hunter, and then 2 Devil Strings, because of the ability to just basically dark hole their field. They are, I guess, lightning vortex their field, and then draw a card off of that, and do burn damage. So this card just pluses everywhere. So this card is really, really good. But anyway, here's the deck. This is, I think, one of the more efficient ways to play Gimmick Puppets. Now, there are some other ways to play Gimmick Puppets. Just a pure Gimmick Puppet build, which this kind of is, just has Gear Swing Spirit in it. More rank 8 focused Gimmick Puppet build with the Shadow Feeler and the Twilight Jokers. Don't really think that's the best way. And then another way is with Machina Fortress and the Skill Drain variant. And the problem I have with that is that deck heavily relies on Skill Drain. And if you don't get Skill Drain, I mean, the deck is just subpar. Machina Fortress is annoying, but it's not, it's not like it's completely impossible to get over. So that's the problem I have with that deck, is that it revolves too heavily on Skill Drain. Now, this deck does revolve around the Argent Chaos Force, but you have Laval Chain, which can pitch it to the graveyard, and you also can just go for Devil Strings, or Gimmick Puppet of Strings, which is a 3K beater at the end of the day. Even though its effect isn't that useful unless you have Argent Chaos Force, it still is a 3000 beater. And then you can also go for Gimmick Puppet, Giant Killer or Giant Grinder, and this monster can help you out as well. Whereas with the Skill Drain version, it just revolves too much on Skill Drain. Skill Drain doesn't really have many other options. I mean, at least in my experience with the deck. So this is the deck that I think is probably more consistent. You can still open badly, and if you're trying to bring this to a tournament or something, I mean, that is probably the biggest problem that you will have, is that you can potentially open very, very bad, especially if you open up with, like a Jury Doll, and you don't, and like Gear Changer, but you don't have any trade-ins or anything like that. That is the problem, but probably the biggest problem of any Gimmick Puppet deck is that the ability to open up just poorly. But kind of like how Infernities have that same problem. A lot of decks just have that problem where you just open up poorly. I guess truly in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Every deck has that problem. But a deck like this, you're more likely to have that chance. It's a much more likely chance than, let's say, a deck like Gearga, which has more level 4 monsters and a much more consistent way to get out the monsters that you want. But anyway, here's the deck. This is the discussion of the archetype. And now I'm going to get into a video match that I had. And you guys can see how this deck works out. So, well, stay tuned for that. Okay, guys, so this is a duel I had against Maria. She's going to be piloting 3.5 Axis Fire Fists. I'm going to be using the Gimmick Puppet deck, of course. I'm going first. As you saw, I won rock, paper, scissors. So I'm going to lead off with the Scissor Arms. I'm going to send the Gimmick Puppet Jury Doll, and as you can see, my hand is not the best. I've got double machine duplication, I've got the Jury Doll, and 2 Call the Haunted, so this is what I said earlier about, you know, just opening poorly, although I did get a scissor arm, so that does help me out a little bit, and that's why I did decide to put a couple of those traps in there, the double Phoenix Chain, double Black Horn plus Solemn plus Bottomless, just because to maybe help mitigate some of the poor hands with some back row that can help you out. So now Marie's going to activate a Tenki. She's going to search her deck for a Fire Fist Bear, and then she's going to normal summon the Gorilla and use Gorilla's effects to pop one of my back row, which it doesn't matter because they're both the same. Hits a Call the Haunted. Now she's going to attempt attack over my Scissor Arms, which is going to go through, and now she's going to get the Gorilla Search because she destroyed a monster by a battle. And what is she going to search out for? Let's see. I don't exactly remember. Well, we're waiting. Well, anyway, so I'll talk about the... Actually goes for a Tensu. That makes sense. So she went for a Tensu there. And hopefully I'll be able to draw into something nice here. Now she's going to go for a normal summon a dragon with the Tensu, and then go for a Tiger King, getting another search with Tiger King, with Tiger King's effect. And I believe she searches out the Tenken. Yeah, she searches out the Tenken, so that'll protect her Tiger King from card effects on my turn. And she sets up a back row that I don't know about. And now I top deck into a Gear Changer, which is really good. So now I'm just deciding on whether to use Call the Haunted or whether to use the Jury Doll. But what I ultimately decided to do was go for Gear Changer, and then try to go for Gear Changer because I do have the machine duplication. I'm going to go for a Lavalval Chain, and then maybe I'll bait out the Tenken with a 101, or maybe even a what's the card called? Exciton Knight, although that might be a waste of Exciton Knight or Exciton, however you pronounce it. But she does actually Fiendish Chain my Gear Changer. She did not know I had a machine duplication, so I actually machine duplication, and this is where machine duplication is just so good. So now I'm still going to be able to get off that Lavalval play that I wanted to do. I ultimately decide against going for another rank 4. Well, I actually can't now, but what I'm going to do here is go for Lavalval Chain. I also did that just to bait out some back row, which also worked out. So I'm going to go for Lavalval Chain. The great thing about Fire Fist is you're going to know what a lot of their cards are, so you can plan accordingly. So I'm going to Lavalval Chain and send that Argent Chaos Force to the graveyard. So that way when I go for my rank 8, I'll be able to add it to my hand. Now I'm going to activate Jury Doll's effect, banishing the Scissor Arms. It's put in a lot of work. Now I'm going to go for the Jury Doll. Then I'm going to activate the second Changer's effect to make it level 8 so that I can overlay. I know that's a Tenken, so I don't want to go for Giant Grinder, what maybe I normally would do in this situation. Just go for Giant Grinder and then go for what is it? It's Neo Tachyon. That's what I would do if I didn't know what the backer was, but I'm gonna go for Gear a Puppet of Strings instead. Then I'm gonna activate Argent Chaos Force to rank it up into Ultimate Trainer, because Ultimate Trainer puts in work against Fire Fist because they can't target it with any of their effects. Now Tiger King does pose a potential problem because it does not target and it can negate my effect, and then you can target me with a bear or something like that. But I actually Ultimate Trainer into a trade-in, so now I can get that Jury Doll all in my hand and draw a fresh 2 new cards, and I draw into 2 really good cards. So now I'm just going to attack over the Tiger King. She doesn't activate Tenzin because it really wouldn't matter, so she'll take 1600. Or actually, she should have taken 1500 there because she forgot about the Tensu. We both did, but you know, it's really easy to forget about that extra 100 boost. Although I don't really feel like it matters in the long run. So now I'm going to set the Black Horn and then pass my turn off to her. She's going to activate an Upstart Goblin here to try and draw into something that can help her in the situation, because Ultimate Trainer does pose a problem for the Fire Fist. They do have to allocate a lot of resources to getting over it. They have to go for a Tiger King, they have to negate its effect, then they have to use a bear effect to pop it, and that can be difficult to do sometimes. Now Tensu does make it a lot easier, but being able to go for a Tiger King and have a bear and be able to pop it, you know, it can become an arduous task. So she's thinking here, viewing her extra deck, trying to see what she can do to get over my field currently. She's gonna normal summon Chicken and use Chicken's effect to trade in that Tensu for a 10 key. So at this point, I really wasn't worried about any potential Tiger King until I see the Spirit, and I know that Spirit into Horse Prince, that can start some shenanigans, because you know, Horse Prince into Chicken, and then Chicken add the Bear, and then I'm just not gonna deal with it. I'm just gonna Black Hornet. And I know where this is going. I see where it can potentially be bad for me. So I'm just going to Black Hornet. She's going to set up face down. And then I'm just going to detach to thin the deck a bit and potentially increase the chances of drawing something that I want to draw instead of something I don't want to draw with the Ultimate Trainer. So I'm going to detach here and reveal it. It's a junk puppet, so that can also help me out in going for a game here. I'm just deciding what to do. I don't want to run into a Torrential, so what I'm going to do is just attack straight away. And she's going to actually Fiendish Chain my Lavalval so she doesn't lose this turn, which, you know, no big deal. See, and this is a point where I wish I had Cowboy, because if I had Cowboy, I would have been able to Cowboy for game right here with the Junk Puppet and the and the Machine Duplication, because I can Junk Puppet for Humpty Dumpty, and then Machine Duplications for another one, and then go for game with Cowboy. But since I don't play Cowboy, I can't do that. So this is an example of how, you know, if you can fit Cowboy into your extra deck, just put it in, because it always comes in handy when you need it. So now she's going to she initially went for the, what's the thing that you tribute, and then the leopard, yeah, but then she took that back, and it's because it's unranked, you know, it's not serious, it's Maria, so I'll let her take it back, no big deal. She's now just going to attack over me with the Bear, getting its effect to search and destroying my gear changer. And at first I put in the wrong amount because I forgot about the Tenku, and that's where I first realized that the Tensu was the extra. She actually has an extra 100, so 900. So actually, it kind of works out, because I would not have been able to Cowboy her for a game because of the extra 100 that she should actually have. So I guess it kind of balances out in the end. So she's going to search for a misclick on the Tensen, and it goes for the Tensu. So now I know she plans to Tensu and now go for the Leopard, and then Leopard into the Tensen. Her math's a bit off, because even with all those boosts, the Bear still will not be able to outlast that 3800 attacking Ultimate Trainer. So I think she was hoping to be able to get over my Ultimate Trainer, but her math was slightly incorrect, so it doesn't really matter. Now I'm just kind of seeing what I have in my extra deck, if it's even worth it. I'm just going to detach and try to draw into something. And it turned, I get another Forbidden Lance. So I think I already had a Forbidden Lance in my hand, so that's not a big deal. So what I'm going to do is attack into her. She's going to activate the 10 during the end of main phase 1, since, you know, she actually banished it on accident. But basically, what she's going to do here is activate 10 during the end of main phase 1, and then activate 10 Sen during the damage step, just to survive the turn and hope to top deck into something good. But I'm not going to let that happen. What I'm going to do is just lance it and make it unaffected by every single spell and trap, and then do the last 800 damage per game. I don't know what I was thinking about there, but yeah, I'm just going to lance it and stop all that shenanigans. Don't want any top decking Yugimoto hacks happening. So that was a good game. So we're going to go to game 2. Neither of us have side decks, so it's just going to be just showcasing off this deck mainly. So in game 2, obviously I'm going to be going second, because the loser is always going to choose to go first. So looking at my hand again, this is a perfect example of how some of the hands that you're going to get. See, double Necro Doll, Gear Spring Spirit, but fortunately I do have the trade-in. So trade-in does kind of, you know, help make this hand much better, because I can trade in the Necro Doll, and now my Gear Spring Spirit's going to be live, and then hopefully I'll draw into 2 good cards that are actually going to be useful to me. So this, you know, this video is a perfect example. This hand right here, and kind of the last hand too, wasn't the greatest, but I was able to play out of it because of the cards that I do run. So, you know, the hands aren't, you know, some of your hands are going to be really busted. Some of them are not going to be so great. Like this hand isn't the best, and it all depends on what I trade into, because I could easily trade into 2 more Gear Spring Spirit, and that would be just, actually wouldn't be too bad either. But she's going to get a first turn Horse Prince play off, as I'm rambling about nothing, and that's going to be good for her. See what she gets with the Horse Prince. Most likely a Chicken to be able to search for a Bear. Okay. Then is she going to use Chicken's effect to trade in the Tensu? Probably not, just because Tensu is a really, really good card. There's no point in trading that in for, you know, whatever. She seems to be liking that Tenken I think right now here she's thinking about whether or not to trade in the pencil. She ultimately decides against that. So see, here I draw into a Magnet Doll, another level 8, and what I'm going to do here is pitch the what is it called? Necro Doll, and I draw into a Scissor Arms and a Black Horn. So what started off as a shitty hand turns out into an amazing hand. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm deciding on whether or not to pitch another Necro Doll, but ultimately I decide on a Scissor Hands because I do have machine duplication, and I can still machine duplication for at least another Necro Doll out of my deck, so that's why I want to leave that extra one in there. Hope I don't draw into it. Now Magnet Doll, I can special summon it because she controls a monster, and I only control Gimmick Puppet monsters right now. And I can also special summon the what's it called? The Gear Spring Spirit. I'm going to target the Horse Prince, but she does have the Tenkin to prevent that. And now what I'm going to do is overlay for Felgrand. So this is an example where I really only need one Felgrand, so I may even take out Felgrand for that Cowboy. But Felgrand too good. Now I'm going to attack over the chicken, or is it Rooster? It's Rooster. Yeah, chicken was the Japanese kind of translated name. But anyway, I'm going to attack over the Rooster just because that to me is the most threatening Pokemon monster on the field with the ability to exchange traps, and it's also a 3 for the Synchro Summons. I just thought that was the most threatening at the time. She's going to Gyoko my Forbidden Lance, and luckily she missed the Black Horn because that would have been frustrating had she hit the Black Horn. Yeah, now she's going to Tenki for a Wolf Bark, and I don't know what her plan is right here. So I'm going to normal summon the bear, attempt to pop the Felgrand, but I'm going to use Felgrand's effect and target itself instead of, a lot of times what a lot of people make mistakes is they will target the monster instead of targeting Felgrand itself. If you can target Felgrand to make it immune to everything, that's probably the better way to go. And she misclicks there. She meant to normal summon another bear. Now I don't know if she's going to activate Bear's effect to pop. She probably shouldn't. She could trade out that Tenki, use Tenki and pop the Scissor Arms, although that really, I mean, I don't know, that's not the greatest play. So what she's probably going to do here is go for Tiger King and get a 10 Sen, so that way she can attack, she can be in a position to attack over my Felgrand. But I'm thinking of whether or not I should Black Horn this. She only has 2 cards in her hand. I know one of them is Wolf Bark, but I ultimately decide to Black Horn it because I do not want her to get any extra pluses that she's already going to get. So I'm going to Black Horn that, and now I'm going to take 1,000 with the Scissor Arms, which is fine because it's meant to mill and then die, and that's what it did. So it did its job, and now I'm just going to decide to just attack over the Horse Prince. I top deck into a Fiendish Chain, so that gives me some options as far as what to do as far as having protection next turn. So I'm going to set that Fiendish Chain and my turn. I'm sitting pretty good here with Felgrand. Felgrand is just so good, such a problem. But she's going to top deck into a Gorilla and use this effect to pop my set, which, you know, there's no point in activating the effect to save it because I still do have Felgrand in the back. And she's going to now normal summon the Wolf Bark, and she's going to special summon a level 4 Fire Fist monster, and then she's going to overlay for probably her second Tiger King. And again, I do not want her to get any more pluses. She only has 1 card in her hand. I don't know what it is, but it's more than likely a monster since she didn't set anything last turn. So what I'm going to do is just use Felgrand's effect to negate Tiger King's effect, so that way she's not getting any extra pluses, and she's only going to be working off of 2 cards next turn. Now I top deck a trade in, really good top deck for me, so I can trade in this Necro Doll as my computer was about to die there, and draw 2. I draw the most busted 2 cards you probably could draw in a situation like this, being the Solemn Warning and the Black Horn. So as you guys can see, I did open badly, but trade in just opens up so much play. It allows you to it really just helps facilitate to make up for the time where you're going to draw poorly, because you do have what is it, 8 level 8 monsters, and 3 of those 8 you do not want to draw. Magnet Doll and Gear Spring Spirit you don't mind drawing, but you do not want to draw Druid Doll at all. So you have 3 dead draws potentially in your deck, so that's why trading really helps with that. And also Gear Spring Spirit, as I mentioned before, can become a dead draw. Like for example, if Felgrand goes to the graveyard, any Gear Spring Spirit that I would draw from here on out is going to be dead. So that is also a problem that the deck can run into late game, is that it has a lot of dead draws. And that is probably the biggest weakness of the archetype as a whole, is that it just has inherent dead draws because of its level 8 engine. So But I have found that despite all those things, this deck is very, very competitive. As you can see, Felgrand is just too powerful. Neo Tachyon is a big threat, can freeze up all their potential back row and things of that nature. It's just really good. It does have drawbacks, but then every deck has drawbacks. So now what I'm going to do here is special summon that Gear Spring Spirit that I top deck. It's really great to top deck it before my Felgrand goes down, as opposed to after. So now I only have one dead top deck at this point, which is not that bad. I actually have another Drury Doll in my deck, so that's another dead top deck potentially. But I'm in control of this duel. I'm not, trying to come back, so that I'm in a position where it doesn't really matter at this point. So now I'm thinking about what to do. I'm looking at Tiger King's effect, and I know it does have that secondary effect where I can special summon 2 monsters with the same attack but different names from the deck. And I'm trying to think. I'm looking at what she went, trying to think what she went through. I think she went through 3 bears and a gorilla already, so I don't think that she's going to be able to actually use the effect, because the only thing she could go for is bear and gorilla. They're the only ones that have the same attack. She could also go for dragon, but there's no other 1800 attack Fire Fist monster that I can think of. So I was thinking for a while about what I wanted to do here. If I wanted to go for it again, should I just go for Gimmick Puppet strings and then attack again right now, or should I just play it safe and go for Giant Grinder and then just do the 2200 burn damage? And I ultimately decided to go for the Giant Grinder. I feel like that's just the safest play, and that besides all that, the 2500 defense is going to be tough to get over in the late game that we're in right now, especially with only having 2 cards in her hand. So she's going to take the 2200 burn damage, and she's going to, I believe she's going to check her deck just to see if she's checking her graveyard to see what's in her graveyard. Then I believe she's ultimately going to check her deck to see if she even can activate the effect. And again, normally you can't do that. You're supposed to just know. But it's unrated. Not a big deal. Not going to nitpick. She's going to view her deck, see if she has any targets. I don't believe she does, so she's not going to be able to activate the effect. So I could have gone for game there, but it doesn't matter. It's better to be safe than sorry. So basically, it's do or die here. She's got to top deck into something powerful, and it turns out to be a Gyoko. So that's going to be the game. She's going to set a card, which, spoiler alert, it's going to be a face-down hog. So that's going to do it for this game and this video as well. It showcases the potential to draw badly in Gimmick Puppets, but also the potential to play out of it with those trade-ins. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this new series, Can This Archetype Compete? This is the first episode, so stay tuned for more episodes. Again, as always, don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, all the other good stuff. And this is going to be MJM for Life signing out. I'm out of here. Deuces.